Hi folks, this is a very quick guide on how to use Weather and Surf Australia, which is a new Windows Phone 7 application available from the Windows Marketplace. I'm going to click on the icon here off the normal old menu. You can use a live tile, which we'll come to later. First time you run the application, it doesn't know where you are, so you have the option to click Find Me. In my case, I'm running in an emulator, and unfortunately Find Me doesn't work in those, so I'm going to search manually. If I were to click Find Me, I would get a list of 8 nearest locations to where I am, and I can choose which one I'd like. If I click the plus button, which I've just done, I can now do a search, and I'm going to call up Sydney. So type it in on the keyboard. Underneath is a list of all the matches. I'll just use plain old Sydney. Next, then I get to choose what I would like to see on my screen. I'd like to see observations for Sydney, so I'm going to choose observations. Okay, that may look a little bit boring to start with, but where it gets exciting, I can have more than one. So what I'm going to do now is say I'd really like to have a look at Byron Bay as well on my screen. Byron Bay next, and once again I'd like observations. Okay, so there they are, the two side by side. Underneath, I'll pretend I live in Sydney. I would also like to see Sydney's weather forecast. So basically what I'm doing is building up how I'd like my view to look on a normal basis. And there we have it. I can scroll up and down, as you can see, and my screen stays exactly as it is. If I exit the program and come back in, I now have exactly where I left the program before. What I can do is, while I'm looking at Sydney, I can decide that I'd like to look at a graph perhaps of Sydney's forecast for the next 10 days. In blue you've got rain, different heights of rain. On the right hand side you've got a scale in millimetres, and you can see that there are a few days where it gets between 20 to 40 mils of rain. The intensity of the blue, so the deeper the blue, the more chance there is of rain. So along the bottom you can also see rain percentage. So that just gives you a bit of a glance. You can see temperatures as well, by the way, green, minimums, reds. So a bit of a glance what's going to happen for the week. You can see it's going to cool down later in the week, and you can see there's a bit of a rain spike on Saturday and again on Tuesday according to the forecast. We'll just cycle through and see what else there is to look at. So there's a 3-hourly forecast. If I scroll up on this one, I've got 48 hours worth of 3-hourly forecast. We'll stop here and have a look at Thursday, for instance, so we can see what the wind's doing all day. Pretty well visually at a glance we can see it's going to be southerly and southwesterly, flick around to southeasterly. You've got your percentage chance of rain shown here. You can see again it looks like there's a fair chance of rain overnight on Wednesday night for Thursday morning, 73% chance, and it also gives you the rate of rain. Okay, we'll move on from that. Now I'm just pressing literally clicking my finger. I'm using a mouse, but clicking a finger to change. Now observation we've seen, detailed observation we haven't. On here you get a bit more information. I'll scroll that screen up. So on here we can see a bit of an idea of today's forecast, 80% chance 5 to 10 mils. Over on the right hand side we've got the temperature sitting on 19 in between a forecast of 16 and 21. And the temperature gauge does move up and down, as does the rain gauge. So we've got 1.2 mils, and we're expecting between 5 and 10, which is all visual. Barometer is up pretty high. A few other obvious observations there. How much rain in the last 5 days? 41 mils, righto. Okay, moving right along. Rain radar for Sydney. Let's have a look. There should be a bit of rain based on what we just saw. Oh yeah. Okay, this is a weather zone rain radar, so it isn't the bomb radar, but it's the same data represented using the weather zone graphics. That's why it does look a little bit different to maybe what you've seen on some other websites. And you can click on a particular image, skip to a different place, you can loop the image, all that sort of stuff. Okay, I'm now going to go to the surf forecast, something I like. Sydney, we should get Bondi. Yes, we did. Okay, so we've got Bondi, a bit of a rough idea, choppy, 2 to 3 foot, fresh southeasterly onshore. Yuck, look at that. There's a lone surfer out there, lucky them. But here's the all-important forecast, which comes from SwellNet for the next 5 days. So I have the star rating and a bit more information. Tides are on there, all that sort of stuff. Marine forecast is something relatively new. On here, if we're in Sydney, we're looking at the Sydney coast. This also shows tides. So we've just got a bit of an idea for the next couple of days of what's going on marine-wise. Up the top we'll get, well there you go, southeasterly 15 to 20 knots, not much to say on theirs. Some forecasts have a lot more information. The Sydney one doesn't have much basically. Okay, right, moving on from there, what we have down the bottom, you notice there's some buttons. There's a plus button, which is what I was hitting to select a location. There's the refresh button. Well, the refresh button is smart. It's not going to refresh if the data's up to date, so you're not going to use excess data. The map of Australia, let's click on that. And up comes, funnily enough, a map of Australia. Now, straight away we can get a bit of an idea of what's happening with wind. You'll see different colours. Different colours represent different intensities of wind, and what will happen is as we zoom in onto a certain area, and we'll go to the northern coast of New South Wales, all the little wind gauges will basically fire up, and we can see this one up in red up the top there. If I click on that, it'll actually tell me what it is. So it's Cape Byron, and there's basically currently what's happening. I can get rid of that just by clicking there again. I can have a look on that one. I mean, I can just move around as I'm doing there. So that basically this is for people who want to have a bit of an investigation of what's going on. Other things you can do, because that's giving you an idea of wind and wind speed. You can also have a look at the temperatures. So we've got the temperatures up there, so you can see, wow, it's only 12.9 degrees at Armidale Airport. You can have a look at how much rain has fallen. So we're looking at 3.8 mils up at Casino Airport. You can also get the barometric pressure, so you can get a bit of an idea of what's going on there. And we loop back around again. Now, if I want to actually add one of those locations to my front screen, I can do that. Casino Airport, click the Save button. Casino Airport has now been added to my front screen. So now if I go back to my front screen and scroll down beyond Sydney, I've got Casino Airport there. Okay, other things that you can do with this application. If I go into my settings, there are two settings. One, Microsoft's location services, which is basically the GPS finder. That's pretty standard in all applications. If you want to use it, you've got to have that option there. Tapping. Okay, what this is the ability where I was just tapping earlier on a screen and changing it to a different view. So I was going from forecast to the forecast graph and so on just by tapping. Some people find that annoying, so I've got the option there where I now tap. Nothing happens. What I've got to do is hold my finger down and up comes a pop-up menu. So what I can do is I can edit this view or location. So I was looking at the Sydney forecast and change it. So I can go 3-hourly forecast. And now that view has changed to a 3-hourly forecast. Again, hold. If I want to remove something, I can remove it. And Sydney's gone forever. What I can do, we'll change Casino, I've got to hold it down, change Casino to be a detailed observation. Okay, so there's the Casino detailed observation. Other things I can do with this are start it as minimised or maximised. The idea of that being is that when I exit the program and come back in, I can have some things pop up in full screen mode and other things pop up minimised. You know, Sydney, for instance, there is minimised. What I tend to do is up the top of the screen have things that I'm interested in looking at. Underneath I'll probably have a forecast, and below that I may well have a surf forecast, which I don't need to open up every time. So I'll have that so as I can maximise it and get the data from there. I think we've covered all those options. Let's just have another little look in there. The all famous live tile. Use this location for live tile. Okay, so if I click that and then exit out of my application, I can now pin this to the start. Looks like it already is pinned. Let's go back to the start screen. Okay, Casino Airport. We'll demonstrate that again. I just did that just to prove that there's no magic going on. Let's go to Sydney, hold on there, use this location for live tile, exit out of the application, and we'll count 1, 2. Whoo, that was pretty quick, wasn't it? Right, okay. Just to really prove that there's no nasty stuff going on. Whoops, I'll go in. Okay, going in, I'll go to Byron Bay. Some locations take more than a couple of seconds, but not much. Use this location for live tile, exit, and we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 seconds to change to Byron Bay. Not bad. Okay, that's pretty well it. That live tile will update itself during the course of the day once an hour, but it is at Microsoft's discretion to a degree, as in the images are actually pulled down onto the phone by the phone. So it's all a bit mysterious. You can Google it and you'll find out how it's very mysterious. But there you go. There's a quick guide on how to use the amazing Weather and Surf AU. Hope you like it. Thank you.